What it is, what it ain't, it's your boy Carlton with another video for anything, everything. I want to talk about anything I want and everything that comes to my mind. As you guys can see, I'm looking a little dapper today. You know why? Because I'm getting ready to do an interview with Fox News. So I recently posted a video that blew up on Instagram with, I want to say like 1.7 million views right now. Where basically in the video, I said that the ICE protests were a waste of time. I've been in ICE custody 2 times, one for 2 weeks and another for 7 months. And I can tell you now, this whole protest ICE is probably the dumbest thing people could be doing right now. I mean, ridiculously stupendous. Number one, majority of immigrants that get picked up by ICE will have their day in court, and depending on their status and their history, they will also have the opportunity to bond out. If ICE wants you, they're gonna get you. Why, as an immigrant, am I not worried about ICE? Well, because I already have court. I've already bonded out the system. As long as I don't violate my bond conditions, I don't have any problems to worry about. If you really want to help people that's getting rounded up by ICE, it won't be done by you protesting. It'll be done by your pockets. Because do you know how many people is in ICE custody right now that do have a bond, but they can't bond out because you need to pay the full thing? They don't do 10%. Do you know how many people have to try to find pro bono lawyers because they can't afford lawyers? In my time in ICE, I've met plenty of people that attempted to avoid ICE. And yes, for a little while they were successful, but ultimately they gon' get you. This may sound like a conspiracy theory, but I honestly believe that politicians are playing these protesters like fiddles to incite violence and insurrection so that they can have a better opportunity at the polls. Because if there wasn't so many people impeding investigations and getting in front of ICE and fighting them and all that other stuff, all of this violence and that lady passing away in Minnesota would not have happened. And basically detailing how a lot of people that was hitting the streets was misinformed on immigration proceedings and due process and all of these other different things on ICE. And let's just say I got a lot of people that agree with me and a lot of people that disagree with me. And knowing Fox News, they lean more so conservative and right wing. So the second they see an immigrant saying an ICE protest is a waste of time, then obviously they want to get me on a interview to essentially, emphasize conservative viewpoints or whatever the case may be. But I'm going to record this interview. Reason being is because I'm not a party loyalist, right? I'm not a person that, the second I see anything Democrat or Republican where I either cheer or boo automatically. That's not how I am. First of all, I'm an immigrant. I can't even vote if I wanted to, right? But I believe, listen, when it comes to politicians, it's 2 different sides of the same coin, right? I believe everybody is spreading propaganda. I believe everybody has an agenda. I believe everybody evil. Listen, I don't trust nobody. Don't get me wrong. I do have faith in our checks and balance system. Not complete faith, but I have as much faith as a person can have when it comes to the system and its history and things like that. But again, I'm not a loyalist, right? So I don't want to do this interview and the next thing you know, they're chopping up the video in a particular way to make me sound a specific way. So I'm just gonna make sure I record it myself as well. I'm getting ready to jump on this Zoom call. I'm also going to be recording the Zoom, probably like screen time it, whatever the case may be, and then from there, let's see what they post. My name is Carlton Casimir. I'm 27 years old. I'll be losing track of my age. I first came to America when I was 6 months old. I have 4 other siblings. One which is a twin brother. My twin brother and my middle brother was born in the Bahamas, and then my 2 older brothers were born in Haiti. So we first came here in 1999. We've been here ever since. We never left back. Let's see. We came on a visitor visa. We were able to get a TPS when the earthquake in Haiti happened, and from there we were on TPS for the remainder of the time. Only my brother is a U.S. citizen, and he was able to get that accomplished through marriage. All of my other brothers is still on TPS, while me and my twin brother, we lost our TPS status because of a felony me and him ended up catching. So usually with immigration, the second you catch a charge, whether you have a green card or whether you have TPS or DACA, whatever the case may be, you lose your status. So that's what ended up happening to us, and that's how I ended up landing in ICE detention.
All right. So, and also, where do you live now?
Oh, right now I live in Miami.
Okay. All right. So you posted a video that went viral about your time in ICE custody. Can you share with me why you created this video and what you hope to accomplish by doing so?
Well, when I created the video, I think this is after Renee Good ended up losing her life, and it was because surrounding everything that's going on, when you hear what people are saying on the street, what people are saying, in media, it was surrounding a lot of misinformation of the current legal system on how ICE works, how immigration works, the process, the procedures, the system. It was just a whole bunch of misinformation. And when people are receiving that misinformation and they're hearing things like, oh, people are just being picked up and deported the next day, there's no due process. Hindsight, it would make sense for them to go and protest, but seeing as that's not the case, then you shouldn't be protesting, because that's really not the case. So the purpose of me making the video is to let them understand that there is a better way to, if you're looking to help immigrants, because not everybody main priority was helping immigrants. It was more so of protesting the government, ICE in itself. So for the people that's main concern was to help immigrants, the purpose of the video was to let them know a better way that they can go about that would actually impact immigrants' lives. Because in my personal opinion, with the way the protests are going, it can actually make it worse for immigrants, right? Because it becomes a safety concern for federal agents that are out there. So now they have to move a particular way. Now they have to create new systems and new regulations that would directly affect us, simply because of what everybody's doing in the streets.
So in the video, you mentioned that you were in ICE custody twice. Can you explain why you were in ICE custody in those circumstances?
So the first time I was in ICE custody, this was in May of 2018, and this was while I was on probation for the charge that I ended up catching. And they picked me and my brother up from the probation office, and they took us to the Miami Chrome Detention Center. At that time, I want to say the first time I was in ICE custody, I was there for 2 weeks. Within, I want to say, 2 days of getting there, they shipped me off to Key West, to a county jail called Monroe County. And from there, after the 2 weeks passed, that's when we were finally able to see a judge. And then when we were able to see a judge, the judge granted us bond. We were able to bond out. It was, I want to say, I think it was $5,000 for me and my brother, so $10,000 in total for our bond amount. And then we were able to get bonded out, and then everything went back to normal. We continued our probation check-in. For the only thing that changed now is we had a order of removal, right? And not the order of removal, but removal proceedings. We were now involved in removal proceedings. We had an immigration court date that we would have to show up to, and present our case and things like that. And then the second time I was picked up by ICE was in June of that same year, and it was because I ended up catching another charge. Now, even though that charge was dropped, the simple fact that I ran into law enforcement, my immigration bond was immediately revoked, and they placed another ICE hold on me. And not only was my immigration bond revoked, but me encountering law enforcement also was a violation of my probation. So even though that charge was dropped, me violating probation is still considered another charge. So this time when I was picked up, that charge was dropped. They sent me back to immigration, and then that time I was in immigration for 7 months. Well, actually, I was in immigration for 5 months, and then after the 5-month tenure happened, they took me to the county jail where I originally got placed on probation, and then I was there for 2 months, awaiting my violation of probation hearing. But the reason I was denied bond for immigration the second time they picked me up is because basically me getting in trouble again. All right, and not only me getting in trouble again, but it was surrounding the same circumstances when I first got arrested. So the judge basically seen it as, okay, you didn't learn your lesson, you're not getting bond again. The reason I was able to leave immigration the second time is simply because of my status changing. While in immigration, I was able to get married at first because of me not being married. I didn't have any citizens to file for me, so the immigration judge seen me basically, okay, he's a flight risk. If we let him out, he's not going to show up to court because there's nothing that he really qualifies for. But now me getting married, it enabled me to qualify for my green card by first doing the I-130 and then doing the I-485. So that's why the judge the second time let me get bond, because of me getting married.
So when were your ICE detention? Like, what years were the two instances? And then you said that you were involved, like you were taken by ICE because of criminal charges. So what was the criminal charges that you were involved in?
So the year was 2018. This is Trump. This is during Trump's first presidency, and a lot of people like to say, like, it was the back then. It's not the same. And I try to tell them, like, hey, listen, like, when they first rolled out, they had a zero tolerance policy going on. It was so bad they even came out with a documentary about it, saying that everybody was getting picked up, regardless if you were a violent offender or not. And that's why I try to emphasize is, like, ICE is the same. All they do is enforce the law. If your name is on the list for them to go get you, they're gonna go get you. You being deported have nothing to do with ICE. That's between you and the judge. But that's when it happened, which was 2018. As far as the charges that was brought against me, this happened when I was 18 years old, and the charge was fraudulent use of personal identification. So it's basically me having my name on things that my name shouldn't have been on. But yeah, that was the charge that ended up placing me on probation.
I see. And I guess the second time it was related to the same thing.
Yeah, it was surrounding. It wasn't. So the second charge was resisting arrest without violence, but I was around the same people that I was with when I first got the first charge. So that's why the judge was like, okay, you're hanging around the same people. You didn't learn your lesson.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope you made some better friends since then.
Oh, yeah. A lot has changed since then. A lot has changed.
You got married and everything, new circle.
Yeah, full circle.
Awesome. Okay, so on that, with your experience with ICE directly, what was the biggest expectation versus reality shock for you?
Truth be told, my expectation was, well, here's the thing. So me being born in Bahamas to Haitian parents, I'm not granted Bahamian citizenship, right? The country of Bahamas do not give natural born rights to people that are born in the Bahamas. If your parents are Haitian, then by law you're a Haitian citizen. So my expectation was, within a week, 2 weeks, I would have been in Haiti, a country I wasn't born in, I've never been to. But I didn't have too much expectation. I expected it to be a little bit more rough as far as the living conditions. It wasn't like that. It really depends though, because everywhere is not the same. So if you're in a federal facility, which Chrome is, the living conditions are way better. The mattresses are thicker. The food is better. Your opportunity to go outside is more. Whereas if you're going to a county jail, then it's different. You're depending on the jail that you go to, they have a lot of lockdowns. The food is bad. You have count 24/7 for like 3-4 times a day. So it really depends on the center that you're being held at. But I would definitely say what I guess exceeded my expectations was the different opportunities there was to be granted a status, right? So for example, something that I've seen a lot with green card holders, right? Let's say if you caught a charge, whether it's a felony or a misdemeanor, whatever the case may be, if you caught a charge, majority of the people that had green cards was just filing for cancellation of removal. And cancellation of removal is basically saying that, okay, I have ties to my community, I have a citizen that can file for me, or if I was to be deported, there would be somebody that would be negatively affected severely, and it's basically saying that, okay, I made a mistake, I learned my lesson, give me a second chance. That's basically what cancellation of removal is. So I came to see that there are so many different routes that people can go through to be given some type of form of status. I didn't qualify for them because I didn't have any citizens in my family, but it was just, I didn't know, the immigration law was that, I want to say, relaxed.
What did you observe in the ICE facility, and how were you treated by ICE officers from the moment you were arrested to when you were, in the office?
Truth be told, I probably had one bad experience with an ICE officer. And this was my second time getting arrested. It wasn't nothing like terrible, but he was just a very like hostile person. But in general, when it comes to the ERO officers that you're dealing with, they don't have any reason to feel any particular way towards you, right? All they're doing is monitoring the facility, taking you from place to place. So you don't really interact with them too much. Honestly, it wasn't really any bad experience when it comes to how they treated you and your interactions with them. So, truth be told.
So, with the ongoing protests, riots that are happening, especially in Minneapolis, from your experience and your story, what is your reaction to what's going on?
I don't believe protesting is a waste of time, but I do believe that there's effective ways to get something done, right? So, for example, when it comes to, let's just say, due process, right? If you're looking to make sure that someone is getting due process, I was telling someone, like, you do know, like, you can literally go to an immigration court right now and sit in to the proceedings to make sure everybody is, being heard and things like that. So what my belief is, if there's something that you don't like, because there is a lot of problems in when it comes to immigration, when it comes to different things like application fees, time to see a judge, and there's so many different problems. But if there is a problem, there's a solution, right? And I believe that there's a particular way that you can go about solving this problem that's going to be effective, or is just going to make noise. And as far as what I see now, especially when it comes to Minneapolis, I think it's just making noise and wreaking havoc for no reason.
So, wreaking havoc for no reason. Elaborate on that.
So essentially, it's like when you're following ICE agents, you're throwing things, you're breaking property. It's like, what's the end goal? What am I looking to solve? What am I looking to be completed? If them doing that is not going to stop ICE agents from picking up, immigrants and things like that, as you can see, it's still going on. If not, they actually double down on sending more people. Now I see they're probably trying to withdraw and lighten things up. But nonetheless, it's not going to stop. So I think the simple fact that they seen that everything doubled down, they should have stepped back and reevaluate essentially the end goal.
I see. And as an immigrant yourself, what would you like these protesters to know about?
Well, one thing that I will say is there is a lot of people that actually do need help. And the number one way that you can help them is going to be financially and educationally. Because while I was in ICE, one thing that I realized is a lot of immigrants do not know their rights and they don't know what they qualify for, right? I had one man from Guatemala that I encountered where he was a victim of a crime where someone stole his work truck and they took all of his tools. And I was like, you can apply for a U visa. But he didn't know what a U visa was. He didn't know the requirements and things like that. And not only that, but there's a lot of people that are given the opportunity to bond out, but they don't have the money to bond out. So number one, I would say if you're looking to help immigrants, it's going to come, through financial means, and it's going to come through education, right? And if you're looking to make a change within the immigration system, then that's going to come from a legislation standpoint, right? All of these things that's going on right now, it's the law. So what you want is the law to change, and the way for the law to change is by making sure that you're putting the right people in a position that's going to be able to get these laws to change.
Very well said. So you called the protests ridiculous. To those that argue that the system itself is inhumane regardless of legal status, what is your direct response to that?
Regardless of legal, inhumane, I wouldn't call it inhumane. Now obviously I can't speak for everybody, because one thing that you can't do, you can't have a one-off incident and then take that one-off incident and say that's the whole system. Like for example, like I said, I had a situation with a border patrol officer. That's what he was. I had an incident with him that wasn't good, right? He was very hostile. He said a lot of negative things. I had an incident with another police officer that was like, oh, you're going to be on the next flight to Haiti, right? I can't have that one-off incident and then say that's the whole system and that's everybody, right? That wouldn't be fair. So as far as, I guess, it being inhumane, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it's inhumane. As far as the system within itself, I believe that if you're a person that didn't, because here's the thing when it comes to the due process. When it comes to the due process, everybody is granted due process except those that re-enter the country illegally. So if you're deported and then you re-enter the country illegally again, then you don't have the opportunity to hear a judge unless you do an asylum claim. And then before even seeing a judge, an officer reviews your claim and then decide if they forward it over to the judge. So when it comes to the due process and things like that, everybody that is able to be heard is heard, right? So that would be my take on it.
So you mentioned the process shouldn't be feared by those following protocols. What do you say to legal residents, like immigrants who are illegal, who are terrified of any interaction with federal enforcement? Like they're believing that if they walk outside their house or they go to certain places that they're at risk of being deportation. That is a thing that's been going around. What is your message to those people?
So I would say nobody should be afraid, but everybody should be prepared, right? If you're a person that doesn't have a criminal history and you have a green card, you have absolutely nothing to be afraid of. It's actually federal law that if you are a green card holder, that you carry your green card with you at all times, right? So the simple fact that you have a green card, you don't have a criminal history, you carry your green card, and they ask you for your identification, you present your identification because you did nothing wrong. But if you're a person that do have a criminal history and you haven't been picked up by ICE, then you should be prepared, right? That it's a possibility that ICE will pick you up. So the simple fact that that, you should start putting things in place, and you should also make it easier on yourself and start filing the correct things, because just because you have a criminal history is actually not the end of it's not the end of the world for you, right? I have a criminal history, but I'm still going through the process of trying to get a waiver of inadmissibility, and I already got my I-130 approved, but I'm also going through different pathways for me to be able to get my green card. So for all of the people out there, I wouldn't say nobody should be afraid, but everybody should be prepared, especially those that do have a criminal history or those that overstay their visa.
So just a side note, so you are like in the process of obtaining your green card, is that correct?
Yes, I'm still in the removal proceedings right now. I have my I don't remember if it's a master hearing, but I have a hearing coming up in 2028. But I am in the process of getting my green card right now.
Okay, gotcha. Just needed that for my own records. Okay, and so what reaction have you received from other immigrants about your video?
Well, so what I come to realize is the only majority, everybody that's been through the process agreed with me, right? Because when you're in the process, it puts you in the corner to go to the law library, to ask questions, to all of these things, and to get more information on how the immigration process goes. But for those that haven't been through the process, obviously me being black, they're gonna call me a sellout or a Tom and all of these things like that, because they're expecting me to have the same opinion as them. And like I try to emphasize to them, I'm not saying that the immigration system is perfect. There's a lot of things that I believe that they can do better, right? Especially when it comes to I don't want to necessarily say make it easier, but making it better for immigrants, right? For example, I don't believe it should take 2 weeks to see a judge. I think I like me through that whole time. I think it was crazy. Not only that, but when I was first picked up, I spent probably like 8 hours in a holding cell waiting to get a bed and a card and things like that. And the holding cell was freezing, right? They didn't give us any blankets and things like that. So things like that, I believe that there should be a change. But as far as I guess everything else, when it comes to you hearing information that doesn't align with what the media is telling you or what you perceive, the first thing that you should do is ask questions and check the validity of what I'm saying instead of automatically calling me a liar.
So, as someone who has navigated the system, do you feel that your support for ICE actually protects the path for legal immigrants like yourself?
Well, I would say so, because here's the thing. Again, ICE agents don't deport people, right? Your deportation hearings, all of that actually falls under the DOJ. Your asylum hearings, your court hearings, your bond hearings, because you're in front of a federal judge. So all of that actually falls under the DOJ. And what ICE does is, obviously, some people, they try to label it as, okay, ICE is going after the worst of the worst. Obviously, that's not 100% true, because I've seen people, get grabbed by ICE that don't have a criminal history. Or they probably entered the country illegally or overstayed a visa or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, it's like, it doesn't change anything, right? You overstayed your visa, you got picked up. You entered the country illegally, you got picked up. Like, I don't really understand what people are looking, for them to do. If your name is on the list, then your name is on the list. What you do then is, you go about the process the correct way, and if you're afforded the opportunity to, get some type of relief or immigration status, then praise the Lord. If you're not, America is not the only country in the world, and obviously they're not the only good country in the world. So obviously, then that's why I said be prepared. See what other options that you have. But that would be my take on it.
Do you believe in borders and strict immigration laws supported by the Trump administration?
Well, strict borders, I would say so. I mean, while I was in ICE, I heard a lot of stories from people, that they, willfully and gleefully, joyfully participated in crime. Me personally, I say this all the time. If I'm running a country, I'm gonna make sure it's safe, it's secure. So I would say yes. I think borders is definitely it's not only a reasonable, but it's also a logical thing for a country to have.
So it seems like you've gone through quite a bit in terms of, immigrating to the United States. You've been in ICE custody twice. Why is it important for you to obtain U.S. citizenship? What does that mean to you?
Well, for me, I mean, this is the only thing that I've ever known, and I say this all the time. I don't think there's any other better place to get money than the U.S. Especially being in Miami. Miami is a very fast-paced city, and there's so many different opportunities in Miami. And me myself, I'm not able to work at McDonald's right now. If I wanted to, I'm not able to work for Uber. I'm not able to do anything simply because of my immigration status and because of my criminal history. But I was able to make a substantial amount of money, not being able to do all of these other things through entrepreneurship. So the simple fact that I was able to do that, obviously, imagine now the amount of opportunities that would open up for me if I was able to get citizenship.
Awesome. And then, do you think there's a disconnect of how immigrants feel about ICE versus, because it seems like it's a big thing among the left. Like, do you think it's a political, people on like one side of the political party versus how actual immigrants feel about it?
Well, the way the immigrants feel, however, is presented to them. Again, people won't know until they know. So them not knowing, they're going to rely on someone that should know, right? So if if you have faith in the media, and the media is telling you ICE is doing this, or immigration is doing this, then you're gonna be inclined to believe them. So I can't necessarily blame immigrants for their perception and how they feel. But I do believe it's also their responsibility to hear out someone that's actually been through the process and that's also going through the process, to get more clarity on the situation. As far as a disconnect, I think there's a disconnect simply because what a lot of people are like, I guess, citizens or whatever, side of the aisle you're on politically, whatever their perception is or what they're prioritizing or what they're expecting for the future. I think when it comes to immigrants, they're it's not the same. Their expectations, what they're prioritizing, and what they're hoping for the future, I don't think it's the same.
Awesome. Well, that was great. Is there anything else you'd like to add or elaborate on?
I guess one thing that I would definitely like to elaborate on is, like I said before in the interview, obviously there's no agency, that's perfect. Whether it's the police, whether it's the government, whatever it is, right? Nobody's perfect. So I would definitely recommend people to actually focus on the things that's going to make a change within the immigration system, within the process, within the treatment. One thing that I'm very critical on is the beds. Like I think they should give better beds. Like it doesn't make any sense that you have to sleep on something so thin. And then not only that, but I also believe that for the people that do get transferred out to county jails, because obviously federal, especially in Miami, obviously there's a lot of immigrants. They're not able to house everybody in a federal facility, so they have to contract out to the county jails. I believe that they should make it more. I don't want to necessarily say a comfortable stay, but a better stay, right? Because one thing that I had a conversation. I was very close to a CEO in my second time in ICE, and I had a conversation with him saying like, hey, like a lot of the immigrants that are here that either came from prison or came from a probation hearing or just picked up off of the street, whatever they did wrong as far as criminal, they already paid their dues, right? I shouldn't have to come to a detention center where I'm getting deported and I'm treated like a criminal when I already paid my dues, right? So I do believe that they should do better when it comes to the process and the people that are in the state, right, that's not able to bond out and things like that. So those are the things that I feel like people should focus on, and that is going to come from the people that are passing the laws and from the ballot box. So I think that's something that we should also emphasize on the people that are currently in position to make those type of changes, to say like, hey, these are the things that I think that should happen at the federal level, and that also should happen in these county jails and things like that.
Awesome. And then last thing, do I have permission to use your video in the in my video that I'll be putting together? I'll credit you, but just want to make. Okay.
Recording stopped.
Awesome. That was a great conversation. I really appreciate your time. Ooh.
I'm here.
Oh, sorry, I hit the button on my computer, but thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you.
Great. Have a great day.
You too. Okay, interview is done. It was about a 40-minute interview, or not even 30-minute interview. So everything that we spoke about was essentially my story. How long I've been in the country, when I came to ICE. I said ICE when I came to ICE. What am I saying? How long I've been in the country when I was in ICE. How was the conditions? What's going on politically. And here's one thing that I'll say right now. Everybody's in it. Right? That's something that I say all the time. Everybody is in it. And listen, anytime there's money to be made in anything, be wary. It's that simple. Anytime there's money to be made in anything, be wary. And right now, what's going on with immigration and in ICE, there's a whole bunch of people that is raking in dough, especially them immigration lawyers, because they're making a lot of money off of the fear-mongering and the hysteria. And best believe they're going to remain quiet. Best believe they're going to remain quiet, because it's like, I'm not gonna lie, right? But I'm not gonna bring any clarity, because if I bring clarity, then the money gravy stop, right? So what else I want to add? What else? Obviously, I can definitely say from the interview as well. She said, for example, in the interview, my support of ICE. Like, I never said I supported ICE. But it's like, for example, somebody asked me a question, right? somebody asked me a question. Somebody asked me, "Do you support ICE?" And I said, "That's a loaded question." Like, do you know how much nuance is considered in that conversation, right? You could be asking me, "Do I support law being followed and things like?" And I'll be like, "Yeah." "Do I support strong borders?" "Of course I support strong borders." "Okay, do I support an ICE agent that that assaulted somebody or that was rough?" Like, no, I don't support that, right? And I also have a problem with the people that jump to preconceived notions into saying that, let's say if I do say I support law and order, that's now if an ICE agent does something wrong, you think I support him doing that wrong thing. Like, I think that's very crazy. And this is why I believe majority of you guys should be wary and hesitant to have a lot of these conversations with people that come from it from such an emotional standpoint, right? And not only an emotional standpoint, but also an absurd standpoint, right? The second you hear somebody say things like, "Oh, people are being kidnapped," you know that's not a person that you can have a reasonable, logical discussion with. Because what do you mean they're being kidnapped? Do you know what the definition of kidnap is? Like, it's crazy. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents. But other than that, when it comes to the interview, obviously, Fox is a conservative place, so they were obviously expecting for me to give high praises to ICE and things like that. And like I said in the video, right, I kept telling you in the video, like, I'm not saying that the immigration system is perfect. No government agency is perfect. What I am saying is there's a lot of misinformation that's going on, right? But what I also can say is like there's a lot of areas that do need fixing, right? That do need some type of reform. When it comes to like I said, like, bro, we was in the holding cell for like 8 hours, bro. Like, bro, it was in the holding cells. Yo, we had to use toilet paper to lay down. It was freezing. They didn't give us no blankets. Like, bro, it shouldn't take 8 hours to process me and get me to a bunk, and it shouldn't take me 2 weeks to see a judge. Like, what? Bro, I'm in ICE detention. It's taking me 2 weeks to see a judge. That's crazy. People got families. People got bills to pay. Some people had jobs. Some people had businesses. 2 weeks to see a judge is crazy. It shouldn't take me 2 weeks to see a judge, and you shouldn't be giving me a mattress this thick. I don't know. There's so much things that immigration can fix, but it's like when you focus on the things that's not really happening, you take away the limelight that should be on the things that should be getting fixed. You feel me? But that's everything. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See y'all next time on Anything Everything.